Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we begin week one of the 2022 Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Weekly Football Press Conference. I am Karen Carty, the Assistant Commissioner for Strategic Communications for the MEAC, and I will serve as the moderator for today's meeting. Before we hear from our coaches and get started, we'll turn things over to MEAC Commissioner Sonia Stills. Commissioner Stills, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Karen. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the kickoff of our 2022 football season. I know that the Bison helped kick off the season this past weekend against Alabama State this Saturday and did such a great job representing the MEAC despite the weather delays that we had, but they hung in there with all the challenges. And I really appreciate Coach Scott and the Howard Bison for just kicking us off for this great season. I really look forward to seeing our teams this season, and I hope that our teams stay healthy despite, this pandemic is still going on. So I ask that everybody please take care of yourselves and each other as we move forward through this season. I encourage everybody to join the MEAC Nation and continue to support our MEAC institutions as we move forward through this year and continue to support our Elite Eight member institutions. So thanks again. And I look forward to seeing all of y'all during this season.
Thank you, Commissioner Stills. Now we will hear from Jeff Cunningham, the MEAC's Director of Strategic Communications, who will provide us with this past week's MEAC notes. Jeff?
Thank you and good morning, everybody. The 2022 Black College football season got underway on Saturday in Atlanta, Georgia, with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge, which Alabama State won 23-13 over Howard University. The MEAC still holds an 11-5 lead in the all-time series, and all 6 MEAC football teams will be in action this week. Games start on Thursday when defending MEAC and Celebration Bowl champion South Carolina State takes on Central Florida. Saturday, we'll see 5 games on the docket, headlined by a pair of rivalry contests. Howard will head to Hampton for the battle for the real HU, and North Carolina Central will take on North Carolina A&T State in the Duke's Mayo Classic. Through one weekend of MEAC volleyball action, defending champion Howard is undefeated at 2-0 after picking up wins this past weekend over George Mason and Georgetown. Coppin State went 2-1 to open the season, picking up wins over former MEAC members North Carolina A&T State and Bethune-Cookman, and MEAC Preseason Player of the Year Miajavon Coleman notched double-doubles in all 3 matches. Delaware State and Maryland Eastern Shore also picked up victories this past weekend against Idaho and Siena, respectively. Visit MEACsports.com later today for the first MEAC Volleyball Players of the Week of the season. The 2022 MEAC cross-country season will get underway this week with several programs in action in various meets. And this year, the MEAC Cross-Country Championships will return to the Delaware State Outreach and Research Center in Smyrna, Delaware on Saturday, October 29th. Commissioner Stills mentioned earlier the MEAC Nation. To learn more about the MEAC Nation Association and to join, visit MEACsports.com/MEAC Nation. And as always, for more information on the MEAC and its 14 sponsored sports, please visit our official website at www.meacsports.com. Follow the MEAC on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at MEAC Sports, and subscribe to the MEAC Digital Network on YouTube.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, so before we get started with our question and answer portion of the press conference, I just want to remind everyone to ask a question. Please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom platform. And when you're acknowledged, please state your name and indicate what media outlet you're with before we ask any questions. With that, we will get started with our first coach, head coach from Howard University, Coach Larry Scott. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
Doing well. Can you start us off with an opening statement about Saturday's outing at the MEAC SWAC Challenge?
Wow, and obviously everybody kind of know the challenges that we all faced in trying to get that one off and running, and the starts and restarts and the late starts and all of that good stuff. But it was great to get back out there and see what our football team was, where we were and what we needed to still do to get better and to continue to do those things. But to have that type of environment, even though through all of the weather delays and those things, I think the crowd was still there. They were still into it. It was a great opportunity for our football program to get out there and play. We're finally having a year under our belt to see right where we really are. And there's some things obviously where we got to get better at, and some things I thought we did well, and some things that we can continue to clean up. And I think we're definitely trending and headed in the right direction. Then it's kind of our second game in a row back to back from the end of last year to this year that we haven't had a chance to finish. We haven't finished 2 games back to back either. So definitely excited about the direction that we're going. Saw some things that we can build upon, and some things that we definitely got to do better. So looking forward to getting back to work this week, back to the drawing board to get ready for a big rival for us that we're all super excited about, and can't wait to get down to Hampton to play this week.
All right, Coach, mentioning Hampton, can you give us some insight into what we can expect for this weekend's game?
I think, anytime in a rival game, it's kind of one of those things you don't know what to kind of expect. You're going to get everybody's best efforts. This game is got a history. This game has bragging rights on the line. Used to be a conference game. It's no longer that, but it still has the deep passion through the alums, and through the present teams right now, and the administrations and all those different things of having a great rival feel forward. It'll be their home opener of the year. So I'm sure we'll be walking into an environment that'll be, fully charged and excited about football, and in a rival situation. So it's kind of a double whammy for us. But hey, we're up for the challenge. We're kind of the road warriors this year anyway, with only having 2 games here on campus at home. That's kind of an environment we got to get used to going into, and being ready to go win football games in.
Awesome, Coach. Thank you. Those are the questions that I have for you. We will now open it up to the media with the first question coming from Dr. Cavill.
Good morning, Karen.
Doc, how we doing?
Good morning, Coach Scott. I'm doing well. It's good to see you. I know you're excited about the season. Didn't start off as much as you would like, but if we can revisit one question and then move forward. You were able to rush total team 127 yards, get in the end zone on 31 carries. As you move forward in the season, do you think it's going to be a compilation of different running backs, or is somebody probably going to step out? And if so, can you give some indications of who you're looking for?
I think, game ones are always kind of the interesting deal, right? You're putting guys in certain situations just to see how they're going to respond, and what they do really well in certain situations. But when, one of the things that you want to do is when you recruit really well, and then do those type of things, you want to give guys opportunities to fit in certain packages and be able to do certain things and put their skill sets in the best situations to give you a chance to have success. If you watch how football is really changing, there's not a whole lot of teams that actually turn around and hand the ball to one back 30 times a game anymore. That's not the world we kind of live in. So, anytime that we can give a chance to give a host of guys different roles and different things to bring their talent level through, and really help our offense be as explosive and as successful as we need it to be, we're going to put those guys in those positions. So I think that's going to be, Doc, kind of a game-by-game basis, based on what we're seeing on film, and what guys' skill set and talents bring to the table to help us be efficient and productive on offense.
Last question I have is moving forward against Hampton, talking about big rivalry game. Your defense was solid in a lot of ways against Alabama State, at least for most of the game. Can you talk about some key players to watch going into this Hampton game in terms of that matchup, and why?
I think, obviously they got the receiver that they have, and he's always, you got to know where he is and what they're trying to do to get him the football, and make sure you're paying attention to that. They have a very capable running back, or 2 running backs that are very capable of, breaking the game open from that standpoint. So I think you have to make sure that you kind of got a real good feel in what you're doing defensively, and put some of our guys in position our playmakers in position to make plays. On the passing game, we want to try to continue to create the one-on-one matchups and stuff for our DN, Darian Brokenberg. We want to make sure that when we were doing things like pressure and doing those type of things that were sound in our coverage. And that's where we kind of got into a little bit of a jam and gave up a big play. Probably the biggest play in the game that kind of hurt us the most was when we had them pinned deep in their own territory, and we had a guy have bad eyes, turn over a guy in man coverage and leave a wide open receiver for a big play down the field. That probably was the biggest play in the game. So doing things like that, not giving guys, free plays by having drops and coverages and different things like that at times is what we got to make sure we clean up and be better at. So I think it's to just, continue to be sound in our calls and doing the things that we do when we pressure or in our base defense, but freeing up our playmakers and putting them in situations to impact the game. That's what we got to do defensively, and know where that wideout is, because he's a really good player.
Thank you, Coach Scott. Look forward to looking for the defensive end. Jevin Jackson played really strong that game. I look forward to watch to see what he does this season. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. James Hill.
Good morning, Coach Scott. I hope you and everybody on the Hill are well. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. Just, another Monday morning, back in the lab, get ready to go.
Awesome. When you look at this past weekend in Atlanta, it gave HBCU a national stage, and not only that, it gave the fans across America the national stage, our brand, and being able to bless fans, if you will, with an opportunity to see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you have those stages, you want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have a great product. Well, we know we do and when you have a chance to put that, on display, it's great for everybody. It's great for all HBCUs, not just for Howard or for Alabama State. It was good for the brand. It was good for the culture that is HBCU football. So I'm just, pleased with that and how we handled it. Both teams kind of handled all the weather delays and all of those different things. And I think we represented that and that opportunity very well.
This weekend marks another episode of the Howard and Hampton rivalry. Talk about the pageantry, the tradition there. And this is a big deal, not only in the Mid-Atlantic, but across.
Oh, I think you went on mute, James.
Yeah.
You can hear me now, Coach?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about this particular rivalry coming up when you look at Howard and Hampton and over the years, the pageantry, the tradition, and this is the game not only big in the Mid-Atlantic, but across the entire HBCU landscape.
Right, and it used to be a huge game in the MEAC when they were both conference affiliates. So I think it still has that luster, it still has that feel, it still has that impact to all of the people across the Mid-Atlantic. And what you love about it is one of those games that continues to affect the past, the present, and the future, because there was a lot of time that student athletes are choosing to go to school between Hampton and Howard and all those type of things. So it impacts recruiting, it impacts the alums. So it goes across the scope of all of those spheres when these two teams meet, and it's bragging rights for the next year on who the real HU is, all those type of things. So while it comes with some big time impacts, it's also fun. It's culture enriching. It's tailgating. It's fun, and it's their home opener, and I'm sure they'll have it charged and be full of energy, and everybody will be excited about the Bison rolling into town. But as I continue to tell our team, and as we continue to grow and understand situations, those things, you want to be that team. You want to be that team that brings in a sellout, that brings people to watch you play and set the tone for the type of environments, those type of environments. So as we continue to build and start to slant these things to get on the other side of the column, you want those type of situations and those type of games to be those type of environments. So something that we're really excited about, looking forward to going down and getting a win.
Thank you, Coach. Have a blessed week.
Thank you.
All right, Ty Miller.
Hey, Coach, good morning to you.
Good morning. How we doing?
I'm good, Coach. How challenging will it be to only have two home games this year?
Haven't really even talked about it. One of the strangest things, one of the slogans we adopted this year is good, period. At the end of the day, throw whatever you want to throw at us, whatever adversity We don't have, our field ready. We got to go to the high school field. Good. We got to go practice, find high schools to practice at. We didn't get our helmets on time and all those type of situations. We're good. We'll figure it out. It's just, so, you can put it down in the mall parking lot, in Rockville in Maryland, and it doesn't matter. Our kids are going to be excited and charged to have an opportunity to just participate, compete, and play. So at the end of the day, it's something that we don't talk a whole lot about. We just talk a whole lot about just getting better. So at the end of the day, we just want to play 11 football games and have an opportunity to get better each and every week, and hopefully find ourselves in position to have a really good season. So something that we don't spend a lot of time talking about.
I know Dr. Cavill mentioned the running backs earlier on the first question this morning. Did you assess as to what guy has taken the lead right now? Because they look pretty good, all three of them.
Yeah, I don't think it's, one of the things you really want to do and permeate throughout your whole football team is that, we're too deep. We're deep. And at the end of the day, when you're recruiting and you're doing all of those type of things, you want to make young men feel like, at the end of the day, my talent can come through in certain packages and certain deals, and you keep team morale real high. You keep the team charged and energy, and the guys understand when it's my opportunity, I got to go make good on the opportunities that I'm going to get in the game. And they all pull for each other. They're all behind each other. They all push each other to get better and be champions in their roles. So at the end of the day, it does two things for us. It gives everybody opportunities to impact the game and positively help us win. And it keeps our team morale at a very, very high level when the guys know that they have roles and can all be contributors to our overall success.
And besides the fact that Hampton's no longer a MEAC member, but there's still a rivalry. What do you know about the Pirates? I mean, so early on right now that you're going to be concerned about, as opposed to just knowing that you're going to be facing a challenge in this game?
No, it's always a challenge when you kind of look at the roster and they're one of those teams, like the scope of college football right now, where the roster is always flipped and is always totally different from year to year because of the transfer portals and the amount of transfers that people bring in and change the dynamics of football teams year in and year out. So with them not having a game under their belt and us having any film really of the current football team, it leads to a lot of questions, with a new transfer quarterback and, some other transfers and different things like that. You kind of never know what you're going to get until you actually get to the game in that respect. So we got to really keep the focus about us and what we do and how we do things and make sure that we're sound and ready to play mentally and physically. And kind of be ready to make adjustments and deal with the game as it comes. For the second week in a row, that's kind of been the case for us. And our young men and players will be ready for that, but kind of not sure what we're going to get because of the nature of how the roster always constantly flips and turns over.
All right. Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Stephen Gaither.
Good morning, Coach Scott. How you doing?
Doing well. How you doing?
Doing well. Saturday night obviously was a marathon, and definitely a lot of sitting and waiting and starting again and everything like that. Obviously, the game was made the call was made at the end to end the game. What was the discussion that you guys had with the officials on your end and your perspective, and how do you get your guys to shake off, what happened and go ahead and get focused and re-energized as they get ready to play Hampton?
That's a really good question because there were so many variables that came into that, right? The number one thing is once it got past a certain time at night, I don't know many people who are out playing football at 1:30 in the morning. And that type of deal. So at the end of the day, as competitive as we all are, and as much as I wanted to go finish that game and give ourselves, because I've been fortunate to be part of probably two of the most improbable comeback wins in college football history, with 6 seconds left on the clock or no time left on the clock, and have one game. So I'm a big believer until you're never out of it until it's truly over. And we were in a really good drive right there, a 2-minute drive situation, where if we would have scored, we obviously try an onside kick and give ourselves a chance to win the game, come within 3. So at the end of the day, naturally the competitive side of you and of your kids was you wanted to go out and have an opportunity to finish that game. Being as though the last one we had played, we didn't have a chance to finish. So the kids were really chomping at the bit and really didn't care what time it was and wanted to go play. But ultimately, we're the adults, we're the caretakers of these young men, and ultimately a decision had to be made in the best interest of the young men. And so, it's just explaining to them that we're a program of integrity. We're going to do things. Sometimes it's not easy to do the right thing, but the right thing is to make sure we put your guys' interest at heart, our cheerleaders, our band, and everybody that had traveled and was with us. The student athlete became the most important thing at that moment in time. So the decision was made to call it and take the suspended loss and understand that in the end of the day, it's still a bigger picture to all of this, and move on.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again, Coach Scott. Good luck this weekend against Hampton.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
Take care. The Bison will travel to Hampton, Virginia on Saturday for a 6 p.m. contest against the Hampton Pirates. The game will be shown live on Flow Football. Up next, we have North Carolina Central head coach Trey Oliver. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Morning. How you doing?
I am well. Good to see you. Can you start us off with an opening statement about your preseason preparations, please?
Well, it's about that time. We had the majority of our team here all summer, and I was really pleased with our strength coach, Coach Thomas Carroll, and what his staff had did with our guys as far as the strength and conditioning over the summer. And then our camp, I thought went relatively well. A couple bumps and bruises, but for the most part, we're healthy right now, and I'm pleased with where we are.
Awesome, Coach. And what can we expect from the Eagles in the Dukes Mayo Classic game this weekend against North Carolina A&T?
Oh man, it's going to be a great game. Obviously, a big rivalry game for us, and to be able to play in that venue for the past couple of years, obviously all the fans can't come in and watch the game, but at least now everybody will be able to pack the stadium, and I think it's going to be a good showing. Two really good football teams. It's going to be a physical game, and I think whoever wins up front is going to win the football game. But it's good to have a healthy team going into this one.
Awesome, Coach. Thank you. We will now turn it to the media for questions, beginning with Thomas Foreman.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Thomas. How you doing this morning?
Doing fine. For the record, I go by Skip, but I'll fix this at some point.
All right, Skip.
Thank you. In the meantime, most schools sort of ease into a season, not saying a game should be easy to start with, but what you're doing Saturday night is playing a rival in a storied series. And on the 100th anniversary, there's a lot of dynamics here at play. Does it change your preparation, or are you preparing for a football game and not an event?
Oh, we're definitely preparing for a football game. All the other stuff, all the other activities, that's for the fans, the alumni, and the administration and the students. We're going to be, obviously focused on the game and defeating North Carolina A&T. But we've really been, laser focused on us and our development and just making sure that we have all of our, I's dotted and T's crossed. It's about minimizing mistakes and just executing on both sides of the ball. But we're excited about it. And I'm all for playing, obviously, this rivalry game, the first game of the year. Back when I was in school, it was always, Labor Day weekend, and it was a huge crowd. So I would like to, no other way to start the season off like this, playing, North Carolina A&T.
If I can follow up to that, what do you see as your advantage coming into this game? What things have you seen in the preseason that give you reason to think you can get this victory?
Well, we've, not to make any excuses, they were a good football team, but the last 2 years we played them, we were, really beat up really bad. Last year, I think we only had 7 offensive linemen healthy when we played them. We started 1 or 2, redshirt freshmen. So it's just, it feels really good to go in here with the full deck and all our guys, ready to roll. So we're excited about it. We know they're a good football team, but I really like our chances. I love where our team is right now, and the guys that we have that'll be going to Charlotte with us.
All right, Mr. James Hill.
Coach, how are you? Good morning, sir.
I'm well, James. Good seeing you, man.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you again. Talk a little bit about your greatest memories of this rivalry where you have A&T and you have the Eagles, and that's a huge game. Talk a little bit about that rivalry.
Wow, it's been so many. As far as obviously playing in it for 4 years, and then coaching in this rivalry for, I guess it's probably 10 years now. And I've been on both sides of the fence. It's just so many memories. I guess maybe the first year, my freshman year, my first play of my college career, I played, defensive back and punter. But my first play as my college career, I was punting, and I was backed up in the end zone, had to punt out the end zone. And, we were in Carter Finley Stadium in front of 45,000 people. So that was my first taste of this rivalry. But, it's been a hard fought battle, rivalry, for 100 years. It's been a lot of trash talk. Unfortunately, been a couple punches thrown, but obviously we definitely won't have any of that this weekend. But heated rivalry, and I think two really good schools with a lot of pride and tradition gonna go at it this weekend.
Coach, your offensive side of the ball, Mr. Harris, Mr. Hicks, Mr. Collier, and Mr. Pratt. Talk about those gentlemen and what you guys want to do this year as far as scoring. I know you can't give out certain details, but just talk about Eagles football and what you want to envision.
Well, I think we're gonna start off with a little different. We're gonna start off with Corey Bullock, Robert Mitchell, Torselli Simpkins, Daquan Thomas, Kadeem Doof. I think that's gonna be the difference of this year's team. We have some guys up front. We have some experience up front. We're healthy up front, and we haven't been that since I've been here. And that's where it starts. We've got to, we have a great quarterback. We got great running backs. We have great receivers. But everything starts up front with the offensive line. And I'm very comfortable with those guys. I believe in them, and I think that as they go, we go. We're explosive, on the perimeter with our receivers. We have a couple really good running backs. So we have some playmakers. We have playmakers before, but if you can't win up front, you're going to have a long day. And I think we solidified that. Coach Leone, offensive coordinator, and Coach Cedric Williams, our O-line coach, have done an outstanding job of developing those guys up front. So the bigs is where it starts. And then obviously we have playmakers. We have to get the ball in their hands.
Coach, in closing, your defense, your defensive backs and guys back there that should wrap up and make plays and tackles. Can you just talk a little bit about the defensive side, and I'll get out of your way. Thank you, sir. Have a great week.
Yeah. I think, again, it starts up front with our defensive line, and our defensive coordinator, Coach Cord, has come in and really lit a fire into those guys. And we have to stop the running that starts up front. With our back end, we have some experience back there, guys that played a lot of reps in the last 2 years. So I'm definitely comfortable with the guys in the back end. But again, like I said, with the offense, it starts up front. So as our D-line go, our secondary and our defense goes. But I'm pleased with the development of our defense and where we're headed.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thanks. Good seeing you.
All right, Dr. Cavell.
Good morning, Coach Oliver.
Good morning, Doc. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm excited.
Me too.
I can tell by your voice, and you have every right to be excited. I mean, there's talent for your team. Really, in terms of this game, there's talent all over the field, but particularly for the Eagles, you have talent on all sides of the ball, including special teams, going in this matchup. Coming out of camp, is everybody relatively healthy?
Yes, for the most part. We do have some guys with some bumps and bruises. Of course, COVID is still here, so everybody's still kind of battling that a little bit. But in comparison where we were last year, yes, we're definitely healthy. So it's football though, so the next man has to be ready. But we're excited, and the guys, we got a couple bumps and bruises, but we're fine.
No doubt. This is one of two top 10 matchups in terms of HBCU games. particular for this one, it's a rivalry matchup that hasn't kicked off at the beginning of the year in a while. You alluded to the fans that you came in with 45 plus, is my understanding. Tickets are going briskly, going well. How do you prepare your players that may not have experienced this type of matchup at the beginning of the season?
We talked to them about it, and we had a team meeting yesterday and went through our scouting report, and we talked about the magnitude of the game. But at the end of the day, it's a football game. It's 11 on 11. We just have to keep our composure, and our guys will be ready to play. I'm not overly concerned about that. Our coaches do a good job preparing them, and we just have to focus on the task at hand. And it's all about guys just executing, doing their job. The same thing we've been practicing over and over and over for the past 6 or 7 months.
Yeah, championship coach yourself experience that you've had, but
Did we lose him, Karen?
I think we may have. In the meantime, we'll jump ahead to Thomas Foreman, and if he gets back on, we'll bring him back up.
That's Skip, Karen.
It is Skip. Skip, you're up.
I started something, my bad. Coach, talk about your fondest memory of this rivalry. What moment stands out? You mentioned that first punt you recalled, but what's your best memory of facing A&T?
And like I said, it's been so many, and it's so many tight games, some wins, some losses. It's just so many of them. That was when I was talking about my punting experience. That was just one of my first ones. But we know that it's going to be a hard-fought game, and every year it's a physical game. From way back when Coach Hayes was the head coach there, and Rod Broadway was here, Coach Little was here. But it's just good. I think for the community, it's good for the alumni, for us to have this rivalry game, and it's so many. I can't really put my finger on just one.
And you're going to be playing in front of, well, you're in a 70,000 seat stadium that I'm sure you're hoping will be packed. Talk about the venue, the atmosphere itself. That's going to be something different.
Right. Well, I think, like I said, it's huge for our alumni and the fans, because neither one of our stadiums can hold the crowd. So a lot of folks can't get in. But obviously, with at the Panther Stadium, whoever wants to get a ticket and get in there can squeeze on in. I just hope the rain holds off, the weather holds off a little bit, so we don't end up like Coach Scott and Howard with all the rain delays. So hopefully the weather will hold off. But to be able to play in a venue like this, I think it's great for our student athletes. When we recruit them, we talk about the experiences they'll be able to have, and why HBCUs are so important. The experiences that you get going to HBCUs are like none other. To be able to play in a stadium like this, in front of a crowd like this, on ESPN, what else can you ask for?
Thank you, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, Ty Miller.
Hey, Coach. Good morning to you.
Ty, my man, how you doing?
I'm good. I just got one question, and you seem to be a happy-go-lucky type guy. So, when your team wins, are you willing to take a mayonnaise bath?
Oh, well, I've already talked to a couple folks about it. I think that I'm gonna let our chancellor, Dr. Akinleye, or our athletic director, Dr. Skip Perkins, step in there and take my place with that.
So we won't be calling you Trey Mayonnaise Oliver.
Well, I'm gonna give those guys the first opportunity. Our chancellor and the AD to go ahead and do that after the win.
Good luck this weekend, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. James Hill with a follow-up.
Coach, in closing, HBCU football is in a good place. Can you just talk about what you see from a coaching standpoint, the camaraderie, the competition, the MEAC, and what you see in your crystal ball, so to speak?
I love where HBCU has gone. This is my 23rd, 24th year coaching in Black College, so I've seen it for a long time. But just to see how programs have grown, the level of coaching, There's some really good coaches in this conference, really good coaches. And we have a really, really good relationship. Coach Pugh is really the dean of coaches, but Coach Scott, Coach Milstead, Coach Odoms, all of us have a really, really good relationship. And, we lean on each other when we have some questions. But I think our conference is extremely strong. And obviously, I think we're, and I'll say it 1,000 times, we're a little underrated. But I like the brand of ball we play here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you very much. It's always great to see you on a Monday morning. Good luck against the Aggies this weekend.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. The Eagles will play the Aggies of North Carolina A&T at 7:30 p.m. in the Duke's Mayo Classic. This game will air live on ESPN3 and then will re-air on ESPNU at 10:30 p.m. Saturday night. Up next, we welcome Delaware State head coach Rod Milstead. Good morning, Coach Milstead. How are you?
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Good morning. How are you?
Router issue. So try
Doing well.
Unplug the router. Wait 10 seconds, then plug it back in.
Sorry about that. My thing has a mind of its own at times.
No worries. Can you get us started off with an opening statement about your preseason preparations?
We've had a good preseason camp. The best thing is that everyone's healthy. We picked off where we left off in the spring and kind of solidified some areas that we were needing to address. And for the most part, we're excited to get going this weekend.
Awesome. And then what can we expect from the Hornets this Saturday when Lincoln, PA comes to town?
My biggest concern this weekend is for us to come out and execute, take advantage of the opportunities that we have, execute on all phases of the football game, starting fast. That's something that we wanted to address from last season. And then once we're out in front, continue to keep the gas on and continue to score points and continue to not let them to score. And we addressed some kicking issues that we had towards the end of the season last year as well. So I'm just looking forward to seeing the results from the last 30 days of guys working hard and to really get a feel for where we are.
Awesome. Good luck. We'll now turn to the media for their questions, beginning with Mr. James Hill.
Good morning, Coach. I hope you and the Hornets and everybody are well. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
When you talk about taking your team from the training camp into the season, talk about taking them the transition from playing shape into game shape and what that can look like this Saturday.
Well, the only way you're going to get in football shape is to play football. You can run them till you're blue in the face and make them all track stars. But until you're out there pushing against someone 250 pounds, for 60 to 65 plays a game, it's a little bit different. So we feel like we're in decent athletic shape. That's what I've told our team again this morning when we had practice. But football shape, we will find out as the season goes on. We will continue to get stronger and get into more football shape. Probably the first week of the season is when you're going to see, not only here, but you'll see it throughout the country where guys are cramping up, not getting the proper fluids, those type of things, because their body has never reached that anxiety level as you will on that first game and getting back into the season. But as the season progresses, you don't see that quite as often. So my biggest concern is to make sure we stay hydrated, stick to the game plan, and come out and play 4 quarters of sound football.
Coach, when you look at your Hornets skill players, what are you seeing so far? And are you pleased with, the direction they're moving forward in?
I am. Defense is our leadership on our team. We have been very fortunate last couple of years with a defense that had stayed together. Predominantly, our seniors right now are pretty much on defense, and they've been in the same defense for the last couple of years. So it was good to see them come back and take it another level. They're playing faster. They're playing smarter. Coach Kramer is doing a phenomenal job, him and his defensive staff doing a phenomenal job with those guys. But offensively, this is the first year we got a quarterback that's coming back. So Jared Lewis will be, be our starting quarterback on Saturday. We're excited about him and his leadership. And up front, our offensive line has done a really, really good job of coming together. Dylan Marshall, who's the center, who's coming back again, was second team all conference last year. Sam Pearson, our left tackle, who got hurt last year, is back, full strength, are ready to go. So those two are going to be anchoring our offensive line. And receiver wise, we lost Trey Gross and Kwame Colley, but one thing those guys did do while they were here is that they mentored the next crop of receivers to come as to what the expectations were. And those guys have really made it their own. We went into the offseason not knowing who was going to be the starters, and those guys are still fighting and competing. And hopefully by Thursday, I'll be able to name a starter. It's just too close right now. When you look at that wide receiver group, those guys are really battling, and they had a good practice this morning. So as the week ends, we'll name a guy. But I always say, if you're not a starter, part of the 11 guys that are on the field, then you're a starter waiting to play.
Coach, in closing, home games are always special. The Hornets nation gets an opportunity to see their favorite ball club. Can you just talk a little bit about playing at home? That's always a beautiful.
Absolutely. They don't have to travel too far this year. We got 7 games here in Dover. We got 8 games in the state of Delaware. So we are very excited about that. I heard Coach Scott mention earlier about them only having 2 games at home. That's a tough one, but we're very, very fortunate to have the amount of home games, and we're excited about it. We got to always take care of home. I always tell our guys, you can't let people come into your home and disrupt things, so you got to take care of home. And that's something that's really key on our agenda this year, is making sure that when we play at home and while we play at home, we put on a masterful show for our fans. And we're excited. Like I said, we start this weekend against Lincoln, and then we'll progress next week and play an in-state rivalry.
Thank you, sir. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Dr. Cavell.
This is Dr. Cavell with Inside the HBC Sports Lab. Coach Milstead, how you doing this morning?
Man, I'm glad to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well. With that being said, I wanted to ask you a little bit about playing institutions in different classifications. Is there a different mindset or framework in terms of game preparation that you go into playing these type of games? Or is that more from an outside perspective in terms of the challenge of getting prepared for any game?
I think for the most part, I think that's a head coach's perspective. You know what your team is capable of, and you don't want your team to prepare any different. But our kids aren't dumb. They know they're playing a Division II opponent, and by rosters and by fate and by history, you're supposed to be better than they are. Okay, that's not always the case. Okay, especially if you don't come out and play your best game. So if you heard my Earl opening statement, I'm more concerned about how we play and how we execute. The opponent's going to be the opponent. We're not going to prepare any differently for them. They are on the roster. They are on the schedule. They are the next ones that we're going to play. And no, our preparation has been the same. And I have reiterated that all through camp and reminded our guys the first game is Lincoln. And that's all we care about. So we'll be prepared to play. My biggest concern is making sure our guys execute for 4 quarters and not let up.
Over the year, covering different programs, I've gotten a greater appreciation for understanding the need to really talk about self-evaluation with your team, getting them prepared. So I appreciate you providing that perspective for me to continue to understand. I wanted to also talk about Wesley College, a couple of players that came over for Wesley College. I know there was some article on how are they integrating into the team and how is that going thus far? I know talked about Devin Curry, Dante Daniels, and Dorico Polston, I guess it is. Are they still with the team and doing well?
They are. All three of them are contributors to our football team. Last year, we snuck one in on you guys, Brandon Bradford. He actually started at left tackle for us, did a good job. He has graduated as well. But those three young men have done a real good job of it's kind of funny. When they came over, they just embraced, they just wanted to play football. That's it. You know, they were at a crossroads. Delaware State had purchased that university, and they were at a crossroads. They didn't know where they were going to go, and they had opportunities. And I remember them coming into my office, and I sat them down and I said, hey, I'm willing to give you guys an opportunity, and that's it. Everything else you must earn. Okay. If you want to be a part of the Hornet family, these are the things that you're going to have to do. And they all embraced it. The more you coach them, the better they got. And they have something to prove. Understand, these guys played a Division III schedule until last year. And now they're playing Division I, where, you know, I think the first day of practice, everyone's eyes were open because they saw, man, this thing is fast. These guys are big. You know, they don't care where we came from. If you're not producing, you're just not going to play. And so I used to see those guys coming over periodically during the course of the day, meeting with the coaches because they wanted to get up to speed. And in the back of their minds, although they were at a Division III school, they felt that they could play Division I, and they have proven that they can. So I think with Devin Curry, he has really made a name for himself to where he's going to get a substantial amount of playing time. And that was one that Trey Gross kind of took underneath his wing and kind of showed him the ropes. And he just picked up where Trey left off when he graduated. And he decided that he wanted to be fulfill that role for us. So he's doing a very good job. Dante Daniels will probably be a backup linebacker for us, but his main contribution is special teams. He is a monster on special teams. That has been how he's made his living, and he's a pretty special, high energy type of guy. Dorico Polston was a young man who's come over. He's an offensive lineman, and he's still battling for an opportunity to get in that number one lineup as well. But he's a big body. He's 6'4", probably about 300, very athletic, from the DC area, brings that Rob Milstead DC mentality with him, which I understand, and some coaches don't, but I get it. And so he's a fun guy to watch, and I've had an opportunity to personally work with him, and so I'm excited to see how he plays on Saturday.
Karen, do we have time for one more question?
Sure.
I wanted to ask a follow-up question, Coach. I know a lot of the game is done in terms of the trenches and the physicality, and I know that's particularly important to you. Is there anything that you can see as you're moving through the offseason, preseason, or particularly leading up to this type of game that gives you an indication that your team, particularly in the trenches, are as physical as you believe they need to be?
They're Rob Milstead, Jeff Braxton coach team. They're going to be physical. If you watched us over the years, everyone knows we run the ball. We don't make hold any punches back. We run the football. Okay, you got a head coach that's all line guy, so we're going to run the football, and I'm going to find 5 dudes up front that's going to push people around. Okay, it's personal for me, and everyone knows that. Even Coach Braxton, he probably has the hardest job here at Delaware State. You know, his boss is an O-line coach, and for him, you know, at times I have to take a step back. It's hard. I hired him to coach the O-line, and sometimes I probably overstep at times, but it's nothing personal. But it's personal for me because everyone's going to look at our offensive line to see how good they are because their head coach is an NFL offensive lineman. So we're going to be good up front because we're going to find 5 guys that are willing to fight for 4 quarters and by any means necessary. And that's what I'm looking for. And I think we got 5 guys right now that's going to make some noise in the MEAC.
Thank you, Coach, for taking it personal, and I appreciate that perspective.
Not a problem.
All right, Coach Milstead, thank you again for your time and good luck this week against Lincoln on Saturday.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Take care. The Hornets will host Lincoln, PA on Saturday at 2 p.m. at Alumni Stadium in Dover, and that game can be seen live on the MEAC Digital Network on ESPN+. Up next, we have Norfolk State head coach Dawson Odoms. Good morning, Coach Odoms. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing well. Can you start us off with an opening statement about preseason preparations?
Well, I really think the biggest thing with the preseason is I think every head coach is faced with the challenge of getting your football team to the start healthy as possible. And we had to take necessary precautions throughout camp because the wrong guys get injured or the wrong guys go down. It can make for a long season. And we understand that. I think that's the biggest adjustment that you have to be able to make as a head football coach in today's game is just making sure that the health of your football team is where it needs to be to start the season. And I think we're going in as healthy as we can be. The guys have really prepared the right way. I'm old school, but you can't go full gear and beat your football team up. And, you know, you run the risk of the injury report being as long as a newspaper article. So the biggest thing is that we try to make sure that our guys are healthy, making sure that we execute, and just making sure we're ready to play at a high level. I think tackling is going to be something that I've seen this past weekend that is going to be difficult because a lot of teams are just not tackling in the offseason, in the preseason, and getting their football team prepared to play. So that's going to be the biggest adjustments, the speed of the game, and just making sure guys are in the right position. But I really like where we are from a health standpoint and a mental standpoint as we come out of fall camp.
Awesome. What can we expect from the Spartans this weekend at Marshall?
Well, I think we're going to play very hard. I think our football team has a good understanding of what our culture is all about and what our expectations are. I thought today was a great walkthrough for our football team from a mental standpoint and just making sure that we understand that we're going into a hostile environment. It's the season opener. Anything can happen, but we have to control the controllables and just play the certain style of football that we expect to play. If we do those things, then we feel like we got a great chance this weekend against Marshall, and we're going to take on a very good football team that returns a lot of good players, especially in that front seven on defense.
Awesome, Coach. Thank you. We'll now turn it over to the media with the first question coming from Mr. James Hill.
Good morning, Coach. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Mr. Hill. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Last season, you were able to come in from Southern and build a culture with the Spartans Nation. You had a lot of talent. Going forward, what do you see coming out of training camp as you move forward and you'll see the Thundering Herd?
Well, I think you're going to see a polished football team. I think defensively will be much improved in year two. Offensively, I think new offensive coordinator, Ron Myers, has done a great job of getting our quarterbacks to understand, take what the defense give you. We're going to be an explosive offense. I think we got an opportunity to be really, really good. I think J.J. Davis has had a fantastic camp. Our offensive line is getting better every day. They're going to get challenged. The front four for Marshall is as advertised. They're grown men. They understand how to play football. They're going to put hands on you, and they hang their hat on their defensive line. And their defensive line is as advertised. Whatever you're reading about them is true. The film matches it. So our offensive line is going to have to be able to stand in there. And if they give our quarterback some time, and we feel like we got some guys that can make some plays, but it's going to be about the trenches. If our trenches can hold up and play very well, then I think we'll have some success in this football game. But again, we're finna play against probably the best defensive line, front seven that we probably going to see all season, and they're as advertised. So we're looking forward to the competition, looking forward to seeing somebody in different color jersey. But I do like our football team. I think our mindset is exactly where it needs to be in order for us to be successful.
Coach, you know the SWAC, you know the MEAC, you know HBCU football. Just talk a little bit about the landscape and where HBCU football is right now. It looks like it's in a good place, and the fans and everybody is clamoring and people love it. But just talk a little bit about the HBCU experience and the MEAC in particular.
Well, I never thought it was in a bad place. I really think that the notoriety that's coming with HBCU now, and not even just HBCUs, but America as a whole. I think we have a platform now to where we're in the time frame where we can express ourselves and people can take notice of that. And I think that's what the landscape of college football gives us. It gives us a platform. And we've always said that, you know, you go look back at the 70s, we had that same platform. That's why so many NFL guys were going from HBCUs. Then diversity kicked in, and now African Americans had other opportunities to be able to go to other schools and showcase their talents. So we've always been there, and we always had a reason to be prevalent in today's society. And I think it's going to always be like that. I think our HBCUs, we're always been there for our at-risk Americans. That's really what we were built on, to give African Americans a chance to be able to say that, you know what, we can educate our own and be able to level the playing field, not only in athletics, but also from an educational standpoint. Now we're getting the notoriety. You've been able to see people that's putting money into HBCUs, and now that people are talking about it, it seems like we're reaching a level that we have never been at before. But we always been there, and we always had that level. If you go back, there was times when we played on BET Network, and we was being able to be showcased in many homes across of America. So I never thought HBCU from a standpoint of athletics or education was ever down. I just think it's a platform now that where more people are talking about it. And since more people are talking about it, it seems like we got more notoriety. But we've always had guys going to the NFL. We've always had lawyers, doctors. We always had those kind of people coming out of HBCUs. Now people are just now starting to talk about it and bring it more prominent to the landscape of how it relates to America. But we've always had an opportunity to present ourselves in the right way and showcase our talents.
Thank you so much, Coach. Have a blessed season and a blessed week with the Spartans.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Dr. Cavill.
Dr. Cavill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Coach Odom, how you doing this morning?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good to have you. I wanted to ask you about coming out of camp healthy. And the importance of making sure your team is at least going into the season as healthy as possible. When did you start noticing, or for your own recognition, that the importance of making sure that you maybe some of the practice habits in regards to looking at health of the players, when did you start seeing that transition?
Well, I just listened, and, you know, football, different people are talking about different ways that they run their football teams. I have a young man that was coaching with me that's at he's with the LA Rams now, and just talking about how they try to keep their guys healthy for the long season that's in front, and just being able to have people that you can reach out to be able to put your football team in the best position possible, because they don't play football like they used to play. These young men are a little bit more fragile than they were in the past, and we don't know the reason why. But a lot of rules have been put in place for the safety of the individuals, and we just know that it's a long time frame. We get our football team usually the month of July, so conditioning is something that you have to look at. Teams that get their guys in camp starting in June, and you get them for 2 months in the summer, you're in better condition to get your team ready to take on more full padded practices. Well, the NCAA also limits some of those full padded practices to 60%, maybe 50%. So even they've taken a notice that we can't just let these guys go out there and run into each other and be battering rams. So I think as a coach, you have to be very educated as it relates to the health of your football team, because you have to understand that these guys may not have had the necessary preparation leading up to a fall camp, and you have to be understanding of that and just knowing that you're going to get better as camp go, but it's hard to get better when your guys are on the injury report.
Appreciate you sharing that perspective. Want to talk a little bit about players on the team. JJ Davis as a sophomore, how was he coming along in camp?
JJ's ready to play. I think he's one of the more electrifying running backs in the country. He's a dual threat guy. I mean, he can run, he can catch. Has done an outstanding job improving his blocking. He knows the offense. We're going to utilize him. We're going to try to find ways to put the ball in his hands. And I think that's the kind of offense that we're running. We're not one-dimensional. I can't say we're running offense. Can't say that we're passing offense. We're an offense that's going to take whatever the defense give us. And our quarterbacks are the ones that's going to have to make that work. If they just be patient and understand that if we just take what the defense gives us, big plays are going to happen. And if we can do that, we're going to manufacture first downs. And if we can manufacture first downs, then we got a chance to score some points. And that's often what it's all about. But he's as advertised. He's ready to go, and I'm excited for him.
Speaking about the quarterback, have you made a decision in what direction you're going to go with the quarterback position?
Yeah.
For this fourth game?
Yeah, Otto Coons is going to probably start, but we'll probably end up playing two guys. We really believe that Jaden Adams is also a guy that's going to give us a chance to also play. And I think both of those guys had an outstanding fall camp. They both put themselves in positions to represent us as 1 and 2. But we're fortunate. We're blessed to have two very good quarterbacks that understand the offense and give us a chance to be very successful.
Last question I have, you talked about Marshall and their defensive front and how what your offensive line is going to have to do to give you some opportunities there. But on your defensive side, obviously you have senior linebacker Marquise Hall. What do you see him able to get done against this Marshall offense?
Well, the biggest thing is just getting our defense lined up. Communication is going to be they're multiple offense. They do some shifts. They do some motions. The biggest thing for us is getting lined up. If we can get lined up and get in position, I feel like we can make some plays because we're talented on defense. We have some guys, we have depth in the defensive line, which is something we really tried to improve in the all season. And we have very good linebackers. So I feel like we can get lined up. We give ourselves a chance to have some success.
Sounds exciting. Thank you, Coach. Look forward to it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Miss Julia Haskins.
Hi, Coach. Thank you for your time today. You said before that you're very happy with the mindset that your team has right now. You said they're in a good mindset to be successful. What does that mindset look like? Touch on that a little bit.
Well, I think when you look at football now, everybody's working on the physicality of the game. But as I watched the games over the weekend, you saw blown coverages. You saw a lot of blown assignments. And that's the mental part of the football game. Just really getting guys to understand the preparation that's necessary to be successful. Coming in, watching film, understanding your scouting report, asking questions, don't be robots, having a good sense of what the game plan is asking you to do. That understanding the amount of rest that's required, understanding that we got to go to school, we got to do these other things, the distractions that's going to take place. It's a first game of the season. Anxiety is something you're not going to be able to control. Just really working on the whole mindset as it relates to preparation for a football game. And I really think our guys understand what we got to do and how we got to go about doing it.
And just going off of that, are there what does the leadership look like on your team this season? Who are some guys that have really taken that role so far?
Well, on offense, you have Daquan Felton, a wide receiver that's returning for us. That's probably the vocal guy on offense. Kobe Bird, our center, who's done an outstanding job leading that offensive line. J.J. Davis is a guy that's stepping into a leadership role for us on offense, and Tremaine Talbot. Those guys are really returning players that really had a heartbeat of the offense. And defensively, Marquise Hall is the heartbeat of the football team. He's the vocal guy. You know, he's done a great job of leading our defense and leading our team. And then you look at Amani Bay. He's another guy that's a senior on that defensive line that's done a great job. And Stuart Anderson. These guys have really, really been vocal and having a great understanding of where we used to be as a football program and to where we are now. I think those seniors had a chance to share in fall camp, you know, how excited they are to be playing and where the program was and where it is now. I think our culture has taken place and these guys really embrace it. So I'm excited for them and hope they have much success their senior year.
And just one last follow-up, Coach. Are there any younger guys you're particularly excited to see emerge in these first few weeks?
Well, not really. These younger guys been playing against the same color jersey, so the jury's still out on them. I think we'll learn more about them once we see that opposite color jersey on Saturday. I don't know which way they go, but I hope they go the right way.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Coach Odoms, and good luck on Saturday.
Always a pleasure. Thank you all. Let's have a blessed and safe 2022 season, and behold, the green and gold.
Norfolk State will travel to West Virginia this Saturday to face Marshall University. Kickoff is set for 3:30 p.m. and the game will be streamed live on ESPN3. Up next, we have South Carolina State head coach Buddy Pugh. Good morning, Coach Pugh. How are you?
Good morning, Karen. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm having to hook the system up here. I got a bunch of stuff going around me. I got all kind of people doing stuff, and we're trying to figure out how we get from point A to point B, but we made it. Thank you.
There you go. We can see you and hear you, so we're good.
Kind of saw that.
All right, Coach. Yeah,
well,
give me an opening.
It's been a great preseason. Can I go? Yeah, can I get started?
Yeah, sure.
Preseason,
go ahead.
Of course. Been kind of conflicted. You're trying to prepare for the heat of Florida, and we got these wet bulb things where they don't, the trainers, they won't let you practice in the middle of the day. And I don't know how you get a team ready to go outside and play in the heat of the day when you can't practice that time of the day. So it's been kind of and then we started getting beaten up a little bit. We got a couple guys. We had about 4 surgeries in the preseason, which is really a little bit scary. We think we come back with a pretty good team. We got 9 offensive and 9 defensive players we thought returning, and then we start getting people hurt. I forgot that could happen. So we lost Jalen Evans, our starting safety. We've lost another offensive lineman. We got some COVID stuff going on. We got a couple other guys that have had different kinds of surgeries. We had 4 surgeries actually. I don't know if I want to give that report or not, but we got some guys kind of banged up, and tell you that's been a little bit scary. And then, we still dealing with COVID a little bit. We got a couple of those kind of deals going, and that started to kind of bounce in on us. And last year we were all vaccinated. It's too hard to figure out exactly what vaccinated is now. I think we might still be, but at the same time, when you get this kind of booster and you got another booster coming out next week, and Pfizer say they come out, and then Moderna is suing Pfizer. It's kind of hard to keep a score on who, what, and where we are as far as vaccinations are concerned. But we need to be vaccinated. We know that much because this thing is still out there, and we've got some issues that way too. So it's all good. We're trying to get ready to go. UCF is really, really good. They beat the hang out of the Florida Gators last year. You see them guys beating up on each other. It just, a little boy like us, we just stand there watching these 2 big giants fighting, and you say, ooh, I don't know if I want to jump over there or not. We might want to stay back over here, see if we can stay in our lane. But we're going to go down there and see if we can play these guys. We play them on Thursday night in Orlando. They've got this, we think they're going to start this Plumlee boy. The boy that used to be at Ole Miss. He rushed for about 200 yards against LSU that year when LSU won the national championship. So, and he can fly. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how we figure how to stop him, because Coach Jonathan Saxon and his crew, our defensive coordinator, has done a fantastic job of stopping folks. But you know what? He might have the biggest show of all this coming week. So we got our work cut out for us. And then after that, we go back and play Bethune, and then we have open week. Then we play at A&T, and then we play at South Carolina. And then did you see FAMU the other night? But then we play at FAMU comes here. Yeah. Somebody got to come to Orangeburg. So we got FAMU coming in Orangeburg about week 6 or 5 or somewhere in there. Game 5, week 6. So it's all good. We're looking forward to it. We want to get started. We think we got a pretty good little team here, but at the same time, we might get the stuffers beat out of us early. We're going to see. We'll hang in there. We can get to the conference hopefully in one piece, and we might have a shot. Now, I'm sorry. Bye.
No, you're good, Coach. Perfect job. We will open up the floor to questions from the media, beginning with Mr. James Hill.
Coach, how you doing, sir?
Fine, James. How are you? Long time no see. You have a good summer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm blessed.
Good. Happy for you. Thank you so much. Yes, go for it.
Talk a little bit about being the king of the hill, the defending national champions, HBCU, MEAC. Every time you walk past that trophy, you see it, Celebration Bowl, and you know what you guys were able to do, and that's a beautiful thing.
Well, it was, and we are proud of what we've done, but that's over. I got a chance to look at the schedule that we got in front of us now, and that's a sobering kind of experience, just watching who we play in the coming month or so. So I guarantee you, that championship's out of our system. People want us to be sitting around trying to talk about what we used to be. We right now are in the process of trying to get ready for one of the toughest seasons we've ever had here. And, I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's just, I almost don't want to look left because I'm afraid to look over there to see that thing. So at that point, I think that what keeps us down on the farm.
Coach Pugh, you bring back a lot of talent. Talk about the three phases: offense, defense, and special teams.
Well, we do. We bring Corey Fields back as our quarterback. We think that Corey is one of the better operational guys. He knows where everything's hit at, all that kind of stuff. He knows all of the bells and whistles of how offense works. We bring Shaq Davis back, our big wideout, who played really well toward the end of the year. And we bring our offensive line back, 4 of those 5 starters. The biggest chore we had on offense was trying to find our right guard because we lost our right guard. Tyson Gray was our only graduating starter in the offensive line. So we've got that pretty much figured out, I think, now. On defense, we lost our 2 corners, DeCorbin and Zafir. And both those guys, were good players for us for a good many years. We think we replaced them. Kendall Mutry is going to start for us at one corner, and Jamia Benjamin is going to be the other guy. So both those guys we think, kind of fit in. So if you got an idea what our starting defense was like last year, except for the fact that we did lose Jalen Evans. Jalen was the guy that made a lot of really good plays in the Jackson State game down the hump last year when they were trying to throw balls down the middle. But we've got to figure out exactly who we replace him with. We think Jalen Barr is going to be the starter there, but that's pretty much it. So we bring back most of the defense. Besides that, we do bring back Godbolt and Jablonski Green. Those guys were the 2 big defensive ends that we thought were really good last year. And both those guys have had good camps. Jablonski is a little heavy. We got to get him. He was a linebacker. He ate his way out of linebacker. He tried to eat his way out of defensive end. He might be a defensive tackle by the end of the year, but we'll see. We're gonna get a few pounds off of it. And then we bring back our battery, our kicking crew, Caleb Brown, our long snapper, Dyson and Gavin, Dyson Robinson and Gavin Zimmer. Our special teams guys are all back, and we brought in Blake Morrow. We do have a backup punter kicker guy that we think can do both. So we kind of good there. We think we good there. Hopefully we can make a field goal or punt the ball on the field, do some stuff. We like to kind of put a little stuff in the kicking game. It's fun to kind of design some stuff that way. And these guys seem to enjoy wanting to do some stuff that way. So we got a chance to kind of have a decent special teams game too. So that's kind of our team back in a nutshell. And hopefully everybody will be healthy all the way through the season that way, so that we can keep running them out there.
Coach, now you're the dean. You've been around for several seasons. Can you talk about what you see in HBCU? And it looks to be a beautiful thing. It's in a great place. Just talk about the MEAC, the SWAC, Bulldogs football you see out there when you look around.
Well, James, I think the model that we've got now in place for the Celebration Bowl, the MEAC versus the SWAC, is probably the best setup in FCS football. And that's not to say that I wouldn't like to do well and win a national championship in the FCS playoffs, but at the same time, it's so much better to be able to plan on where you're going and to get enough time to gather yourself and do all the stuff that you do when you go to the bowl game. Our folk are still buzzed about having the opportunity to go to the Celebration Bowl last year. And so, I think our league's got a good championship model there. And then at that point, if we get another team or 2, that's pretty good. We can still, I think FAMU went to the championship subdivision playoff last year. So I think that works. Besides that, I just feel like, we just need to continue to try to develop our programs. If we put a little more into these programs, I think we'd have a chance to really develop into something. And, I like to think that Dion has done a nice job of encouraging our universities to really invest in this side, of athletics that way. So, if we can continue to see, the fruits of the investments that we are making in a way that we can see the profits and that kind of stuff, then I think we got a chance to build on something that might have a chance to really be something that HBCUs can hang their hat on for years to come.
Thank you, Coach. Have a blessed season.
Thank you, James.
All right, Ty Miller.
Hey, Coach Pugh, good morning to you. How are you?
Hey, Ty, how are you today?
I'm good, Coach. So let's talk about Central Florida. Gus Malzahn, he's known for going fast, going up tempo. How prepared is your defense for this offense that he's going to be throwing at you?
You know what, Ty, I hope really good, but now anytime you got a quarterback run game, and I think this guy is going to be a big time pull off the backside of the zone, and then a lot of people going one way and that quarterback coming out the back door with that counting power going the opposite direction, that kind of stuff. And a lot of this we've got to kind of figure as being possible because we don't know exactly. But his offense is different this time than it was before because of the skill set that he got in the position. So, it's going to be hard for our defense, and we'll have to get in there knowing that we are going to have to make adjustments. We need to be in a good, solid defense. Our guys are decent enough ability-wise. I think we could go in and play good, sound defense and not necessarily take very many chances, make them earn their way down the field that way, kind of slow them down that way. And at that point, then we get a chance to kind of, adjust as we go and find our way as we go. So we'll see. I worry about conditioning. When people run as many snaps as these guys can, they have been known to do 100 snaps in a game and that kind of stuff. They do that kind of stuff to you coming out of coming into the season. You're not quite there as far as really being in top playing conditions still. It could be tough on us. So at that point, we want to try to make sure that we get in there and take as many guys as we possibly can. I told our team this morning that everybody that gets on that bus, it's going to be a guy that can do something to help. So we won't have any freeloaders on that deal. Everybody got to be able to do something. So, that's kind of what our mission is at this point, to make sure that we can be as deep as we can so that we can actually deal with some of the circumstances of hurry up offense and that kind of stuff.
Well, Coach, with John Reese Plumlee, a quarterback, there's some talk that Central Florida is going to run a similar offense to what Gus did in his last couple of years at Auburn because the quarterback is kind of similar. So are you prepared for that type of offense where I know you're ready for the misdirection, but Plumlee, he's quick as a cat. So what's the most important thing that your defensive line has to do to contain him if they can?
I think we got to be sound fundamentally. I don't think you can be looking in the backfield. It's like when I was a high school coach years ago and I was a wing T guy. If guys were trying to see where the ball was, that kind of stuff, by just trying to see what was the action in the backfield, you never find it. And a lot of what they do is similar. You can tell that he's an old wing T guy back in his background somewhere. So, we've got to do a good job of being fundamentally sound, reading our keys, reading the defensive front kind of stuff, as opposed to looking, trying to see, what's going in the backfield.
Last question, Coach. I heard you at the top talk about how tough the schedule is this year. You said the same thing last year, and you won the championship.
Well, because we come out of the first 5 games, 1-4 though. So I don't want to doggone make that as a method of going to win that championship. So at this point, we did that, but it was a hard deal. And it's hard to keep a team, focused and still confident when you 1-4. So, we need to try to figure out how to win a few. We need to beat somebody in these early games. And let me tell you, at Bethune, at A&T is not a good formula for trying to figure out how to go somewhere and beat somebody.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach, and good luck on Thursday.
Thanks, Ty. Appreciate it.
All right, Dr. Cavill.
This is Dr. Cavill inside the HBC Sports Lab. Coach Pugh, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Dr. Cavill, how are you? How was your summer?
Man, it was good. It was good. It wasn't quite as good as yours.
Well, I can tell you what, it's over now, though. I guarantee you, we're back at it. So let's go.
Yeah, I know it's over. I know you, Coach. I want to take it a little bit off the field and then understanding in terms of a coaching perspective. Nashawn Goddard, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Say it again now.
The coach that had the NFL fellowship, Nashawn.
Oh, that was with Deshaun Goddard. Yeah. Deshaun Goddard was with the Bears, and Jonathan Saxon was with the Seattle Seahawks.
So I want to ask you, obviously you imagine that is great preparation from them in terms of opportunities that may come out of that. But coming back in terms of the coaching staff, have you seen how that has elevated what you're able to do in terms of moving your program forward? Has it been any help with that as well?
Somewhat. Both guys had been tremendous football coaches prior to their going and spending time with those two NFL organizations. And the first thing you do is you pick their brains about what did you see, what did they see, what did you see there that we needed to implement here. And there are a couple of other things that we did try to, maybe implement that way. But in most cases, we pretty much get a validation of what we do here. We get a pretty good understanding that we actually do things kind of sort of right here already. So, that's kind of how it works. But at the same time, both guys have done, really good jobs. And it wouldn't surprise me at any point if either one of them was often gone to one of those big time situations, in a day now.
Certainly. You talked about some of the injuries coming out of spring ball, coming out of preseason as you're getting ready for this season. There's some coaching thoughts in terms of trying to understand how much you put out there. You talk about preparing for the heat, not being able to practice in the day. How do you create that balance in terms of the workload that you put on your team to be prepared for playing a football game versus balancing trying to see if you can come in to the season without, so many injuries? How have you seen that change over the years, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, the rules have changed so much, Dr. Cavill, until, it's hard to find that balance of what you can. The time you got time restrictions, you got number of practice restrictions, you got all kinds of other restrictions that you got to adhere to in order to, be able to make sure that you take your players' health and safety, into account. And believe it or not, we never were big into a whole lot of extra practices and long practices and that kind of stuff. So a lot of what we do here now is not that much different from what they have forced on the rest of the country here in the more recent years. So, it's not that big a deal for us to not practice very long, that kind of stuff. Now, we did practice more toward the warm-up parts of the day. And we feel like we could actually be able to adhere to some of the same rules and regulations and still find our way to be somewhat in the tougher part of the day that way. But, that's been taken away from us by the fact that just the simple fact that you got a certain temperature, you can't even go out at that temperature. So, there are some issues that, I wish we had a little bit more control over, but that's the conflict that we deal with. I mean, I don't know sometimes if there is an answer on exactly how we go about dealing with. We'll have some shortcomings as far as actually being able to deal with some of the elements that we'll deal with in Florida. So we hope to try to take care of a good bit of that with numbers, trying to have more guys, more people available so that we can play less snaps with a guy. And at that point, then that will give us a chance to get more rest in between.
Certainly, Coach. I have one more for you. Ty Miller and James Hill, my colleagues, asked excellent questions in terms of players and on the field action. So I want to do one more philosophical question in terms of preparing for us. A lot of the poll rankings out there have you number one justifiably with all the talent you're bringing back. How do you prepare differently going in the season where maybe a lot of other teams understand the toughness of a South Carolina State coach, but if you team, but now you have this number one ranking, and us as media, we're going to constantly talk about these matchups with the number one team coming into town or this top team coming into town versus these type of matchups. How do you get your players to kind of tune that off and really focus on the things that you're trying to get them to do to make sure they can prepare the state, if you would, as a number one ranked team?
I think we've got a natural kind of sensation that we actually have in place. Our schedule is what makes us just totally come back down on the farm. The fact that we play the people that we play, and you see those guys beating up on the people that they beat up on. And let me tell you, in those first 5 games, we could easily be 0-5. coming out of those 5 ball games. So I think that's the thing that we trying to put our guard up against. I don't have to talk about the fact that you better be careful, because the fact that they can see it, pretty easily without having to have a whole lot of, discussion.
All right, Coach, I'll let you go. I see you got your phone there. It might be the president of the university calling. So
More stuff going on. I got more stuff going on here right now, and I got people inside. I'm trying to get through this.
No, I got you. We good. You did what I needed.
Thank you, Dr. Kabir. I appreciate it, Karen.
Yes, thank you, Coach, for your focus and throughout all the distractions. Good luck this week, and we will see you next Monday.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. Appreciate you.
You too. Take care. The South Carolina State Bulldogs will face the Knights of Central Florida on Thursday at 7 p.m. The game will air live on ESPN+. Last but not least, we have the newest coach on the block, Morgan State head coach Damon Wilson. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing, Karen?
Doing well. Good to see you. Can you start us off with an opening statement about your preseason preparations?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we just finished up camp and getting ready for our first game against Georgia Southern University. As you guys know, we were brought in as a staff mid-June, and we were able to get a lot done in a little bit of time. We had to build some numbers. I think last year it finished up in spring with 47 guys on the roster. We have that number now at 110 guys. So we have some guys that we can work with and develop. And I think the guys did a great job learning the new systems that have been implemented. So we're excited about our football team and excited to get started this week.
Awesome, Coach. You mentioned Georgia Southern. What can we expect from Saturday's game?
We have a very tough opponent. They're definitely not welcoming me into FCS football on the lighter end. We have a very tough one. Good thing about it, Coach Kelton, this is his first year there as well. So we have 2 new coaches going into programs. He had an opportunity to work with his team during the spring. So, we're going to do some things have to learn on the fly. We're going to be in that first quarter, first half, making the necessary adjustments. But I think we've done a good job preparing on both sides, all 3 phases of the game going into this deal. So I guess our guys will be prepared.
Awesome, Coach. I'll turn it over for questions, beginning with Dr. Cavill.
Good morning, Coach Wilson. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Doc. How about yourself?
I'm good. I know you're the new kid on the block for the MEAC, and we got you best for last, I guess they're saying. We're going to see if we can treat you a little better, Karen. It's nicer than that. But all kidding, this was where Morgan State was last year in terms of the thing. So it's not picking on you. Just wanted you to know this, Coach.
Yes, sir.
But all seriousness, it's good to have you on the call. Wanted to talk to you about the transition. What has that been like? We haven't had a chance to really get that information out there in terms of what were some of the particular things that you had to do to make you feel that you're getting prepared for this fall season?
I just mentioned one of them. One of them is getting bodies in here. Like I said, they finished spring with 47 guys. You can't prepare an FCS program or any college football program without numbers. So the first thing was to get the bodies in here and to put a good staff together. And I think I have one of the best staffs in FCS football. These guys are really gelling together, and we're laughing and joking, but also getting after it, with regards to preparation of our guys. One thing that's kind of made it easier for me is our guys. Our guys have really brought into it, really showing that they want to turn this thing around, and that they're doing the right things with regards to workouts and that sort of thing. And administration, they've been really ears open into making adjustments. I have a new AD. She's learning the landscape as well as I'm doing at the same time, and making the necessary adjustments to move this football program in the right direction.
Well, moving forward, you got Georgia Southern, the FBS opponent, and moved from the FCS level several years ago. What are your thoughts in terms of that matchup? What do you see that you have to get done to be able to play in the game?
They're a good football program. Traditionally, they've been one of the powerhouse programs across the country. We must not have self-inflicted wounds. We must play disciplined football to give ourselves an opportunity to win the ball game. We can't go in turning the ball over. We got to find creative ways to create turnovers, execute on third down. And I think that'll give us an opportunity to be successful in the football program. We have a list of things that we want to get accomplished as a staff, being our first game together. But I think if we as a team follow the game plan, we'll have an opportunity to make some plays in the fourth quarter and come out on the other side of this thing.
Last question I have for you, Coach. Coming out of camp, are you feeling that your team is pretty healthy? And who were some of the standouts that we need to be prepared to watch this season?
Definitely. And that was I think everybody, number one focus in training camp is just trying to come out healthy. And as far as standouts, I want to say our running back core, Graham and Jabril. I think those guys are going to be really good runners in this conference. I think we have 2 to 3 quarterbacks that we can win with. We'll name the starter tomorrow officially, if you will. Defensive line, we have some guys really stand out throughout camp. Elijah Williams is one guy that comes to mind. Dendo had a great camp. And linebackers, you got Richardson. And on the back end, have some guys that, some all-conference knockers at corner for us that really had a great camp. And I'm seeing him transition, not just from a physical standpoint, but mentally. He's getting playing with a higher football IQ. And that's something that we need to do as a program. And our wide receiver group wasn't a very productive group last year, but I think this year we got some guys that can stretch the field vertically, as well as some guys that's going to cause some mismatches underneath, led by our brother Crawley.
Thank you, Coach. That's all I had for you. As we said, MEAC is a non-hazing organization. I know you do it differently with your organization, but we want no trouble here, so we'll stick with you. But I'll call you for some other information about moving forward. Thank you for your time and welcome to the MEAC.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. James Hill.
Coach Wilson, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Doing my first MEAC coaches meeting call and doing great.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the culture you're building at Morgan? You alluded to it. You had a lot of success, King of the Hill, national championships at Bowie, but now you're up the beltway, so to speak, in Baltimore, and you want to bring a championship mentality to Morgan. But just talk about what you see so far, some of the things you're doing there.
Well, one thing we did coming into camp, and I want these guys to understand the history that is Morgan State University and as Morgan State football. So each night at camp, we had a different player stand up and present, or whether it was a former coach, Coach Hurts, Coach Banks, or was it one of the Hall of Famers, one of the 4 Hall of Famers that played at Morgan State University. They stood up and did a presentation in front of the rest of the ball club just to educate them on what is Morgan State football. We did the same thing with different buildings and different people on campus, just once again educating the younger guys as well as some of the older guys on what's on this campus, what type of history is on this campus, and understand who you're playing for. You're not just playing for your brothers in the locker room, but you're playing for folks that laid down a foundation before we were, here on this campus, and trying to teach them to take pride into putting that Morgan uniform on. And that's something that we've talked about and something that they have displayed thus far. And I'm excited to put everything together this weekend.
Coach Wilson, HBCU football is a beautiful thing. It's been that way since the 1800s. You've experienced it. You know about the CIAA, the MEAC. Just talk a little bit about what you see out there and why HBCU is so important.
I think the HBCU experience, is really important. And one thing that I'm big on is not trying to separate the style of football that we play. We're in the HBCU conference, but we play college football, and that's something that I'm big on in recruiting, because we want to make sure that we continue to grow our HBCU experience and continue to understand our history. But from a football standpoint, we want to be at the top of those FCS polls down the line. I think it's we're definitely heading the right way. Social media is definitely helping us with exposure and getting into different living rooms earlier in life, and letting guys know and let young kids know, hey, it's a good deal, good things going on on HBCU campuses. So that's something that we embrace, and we're going to continue to try to move the needle and move forward.
Thank you, sir. Have a blessed week and a blessed season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Ty Miller.
Hey, Coach. Ty Miller from the Power News Radio Network. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty. How you doing?
I'm good, Coach. Georgia Southern is known for the triple option, but they don't run that no more. So what are you preparing for?
Thank goodness. They have a transfer quarterback, a grad guy that can spin it around a little bit. He gets the ball out of his hands quick, and they have a couple running backs that, they have, I want to say, a runner-up to Mr. Georgia football, rushed for over 6,000 yards his high school career. So they have 2 or 3 running backs that can get after it, and they also have a shot caller that has the ability to spin the ball down the field. So we must, play sound defense. And up front, we got to win the battle up front. Once again, no self-inflicted wounds. They're gonna be physical. We have to match that intensity. It's the first game of the season, their first home game, coach's first game there, my first game at the FCS level. So we have a lot of firsts going on this weekend. But the biggest thing, man, when the ball is kicked off, we got to play sound football to have a chance.
The quarterback you mentioned is Kyle Van Triessen. This will be his 6th year. So he came over from Buffalo. So how much have you studied him and how much do you know about him?
I think we've done a good job as a staff breaking down transfer players as well as the coaching staff, understanding where those guys come from and what they've used to doing in their different systems, so we can try to formulate a game plan for game one. We know there were going to be some adjustments once the ball is kicked off, but I think we've done a good job just trying to be multiple as much as possible, offensively and defensively, as well as special teams throughout camp. So our guys will have a reference point on Saturday.
In all honesty, Coach, how many times did you watch that Georgia Southern spring football game, that blue and white game?
I watch it a few.
And finally, Coach, if there's one thing that's going to make you successful at Morgan State that brought you success at Bowie State, what would that be and why?
Wow, that's a great question. The one thing that I think will give us an opportunity to have success and sustain success is really the buy-in, with the players as well as administration and the local supporters. That's one thing that we had at Bowie State. And, at Bowie, the fortunate part for me is at Bowie, I really didn't know what I was doing year one, year two. I was figuring it out. You think you're ready to be a head coach and, you want to take the program to the next level. So I put everything I learned over the years and tried to implement that at Bowie. But it wasn't really until year 3, year 4 where I really understood how to be a head coach. Now I don't have to go through that learning process. I have 13 years of head coach experience. I have another 11 years as assistant coach experience. I'm in the state of Maryland. I'm familiar with the landscape, the high school coaches, the football that's played here. Like I said, I have a great coaching staff put together. So that learning curve is a little different now than it was when I started this thing at Bowie State 13 years ago.
Coach, thank you much and good luck all season.
Thanks a lot, Ty.
All right, Coach Wilson, thanks again for being here with us. Welcome to the MEAC, and thanks for your time today. We will see you next week.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks. Morgan State will open its season this Saturday at Georgia Southern. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. and the game will be broadcast live on ESPN3. At this time, we will conclude our first coaches press conference. But before we do, I'd like to thank each of the media members who joined us today. We really cannot make this event without you all, so thank you for being here. We'd like to also thank our sports information directors at our MEAC institutions for their assistance with today's call. And as always, we'd like to thank our corporate partners. The next call will be Monday, September 5th, beginning at 10 a.m. And as always, for up-to-date news on MEAC football and our other sponsored sports, log on to meacsports.com. Also, follow the MEAC on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at MEAC Sports, and then subscribe to the MEAC Digital Network on YouTube. Once again, everybody, thank you for being here and have a great football week. See you next Monday.